Many people have asked, Anna, how do you make your wonderful Italian sauce and can it? Well, I'm fixing to show you today. And it starts off with these beautiful tomatoes that we grew. Some of them aromas, which are great for sauce because they make a nice thick sauce because they don't have as much water in them. And I have Better Boys and different varieties, and I even throw cherry tomatoes in there. Alan is now cutting the stems off of the tomatoes and cutting them up for me so that I can prepare them for cooking. What is the technique that you use, Alan?
Cossack evisceration.
Very good. I have my cut up tomatoes that Alan made. I'll show you what I do with them. I've got my food processor. I've got a variety of things here. I've got some bell peppers, different types. These little yellow ones come out of my garden, and here's a little red one. Garlic, onions. I use white onions, red onions, and I've used basically what I have at the time that would be good for the sauce. I like to add mushrooms too, but I'm out. But we're going to cut these up and put them in a sauce, and it's going to be really, really good. Add a little olive oil to my sauce so that it doesn't stick to the pan. I only had a little bit left in this bottle, so. And I use salt, pepper, parsley, oregano, onion powder, garlic powder, bay leaves, basil, plankton. Yes, plankton. Yes, the stuff that grows in your yard. It's very good for you. And cilantro that I grow myself. Now, you just have to flavor it to your liking. And with a big pot like this, it takes a lot of herbs and spices. I like to add tomato paste to my sauce. It'll thicken it up. Fresh tomatoes make a really thin sauce if you don't either cook it down or add something to it. So in this big old pot, I'm not sure how many quarts it is. I know it's at least 14, and it might even be 20. But I usually, if it's close to a full pot, I add 3 cans. I've got a couple of inches of water in the bottom of my pressure canner and a splash of vinegar. If you don't add the vinegar, you get a chalky white film on your jars. Also, I washed my jars in bleachy water, and I'm going to put them in the pressure cooker with the lid on it for a little while the sauce is cooking to sterilize them. This is the sauce. It's on the verge of boiling. We're going to let it boil for a little while. And now I have my jars in the pot, and I like to put a little bit of the boiling water in each jar so it weighs them down and they're not floating around. I put my lids and rings in a little pot. I found a trick to it is do it before you add the water. That way the rings don't separate from the lids and you have to dish them out. And we're going to fill our pot with water and bring it to a boil. I've got my rings in a pot getting ready to boil. My sauce is starting to boil. My jars in the pressure canner came to a rip-roaring boil, so I turned it down. Next, we have to get our utensils ready. What I use, this goes on the jar so that you can pour your stuff in the jar without it spilling everywhere. I use a ladle. I have a little spoon handy in case I overfill my jar. I can quickly get the excess out. This is a little knife thing that you get the air bubbles out. This is my jar grabber. And I use these tongs to grab the lids. Everything's come to a boil. I've turned it down to a simmer. And let's start canning. Boy, it looks and smells so good. headroom. I find that tomato sauce needs a little more headroom than most things. It will boil over and you will have a mess all in your canner. Let's see. Let me do my little knife getting the bubble out thing. And I'll show you. Okay. There's the top of my jar. And I leave a good bit of headroom. Always wipe the rims of the tops of your jars. For one, it gets rid of any food that is on your jar and will stop it from sealing. And another, you can, if you missed any nicks, I have caught some just filling them through the paper towel. I use a clean paper towel. Pulling my ring out. Okay, and you just kind of give it a quick, snug twist. Nothing too extreme, nothing too light. It takes practice. And you be very careful when you set it in your pan. I've added my jars, and I have read where people say that if the jars are touching, they'll break. Well, I've never had that happen, and this is a 70-quart canner, and it's really hard to put them in there without them touching. So I don't worry about that because I've been canning for several years now. I've never had that happen. So they're in there, the water is boiling away. I have an arrow on the bottom handle, and I have an arrow on my lid. You line them up, set the lid down, and turn it. Many people are scared that their canner is going to explode, and I used to be scared of the same thing. I wouldn't even want to go around it when it was canned. And what causes one to explode is if this middle release valve thing that you put your jiggler on, if it gets clogged up, it'll build up pressure and explode. Well, guess what? It's not that bad. There's a little plastic valve on the back that if this gets clogged up, it will pop up. But you need to keep an eye on it because you wouldn't want that to get clogged up too. Let's say one of the jars of sauce busts in the canner, clogs this up, and then clogs that up. Yeah. So keep an eye on it, but it's not just going to blow up when you walk by it, okay? And say once the steam starts coming out of the little jiggler hole thingy, time it for 10 minutes and then add your jiggler. Okay, it's starting to jiggle and I always get excited when it starts jiggling. It's so exciting. You hear it? It's jiggling. And I found that it takes about 5 minutes to start jiggling once this little thing goes up. So we're going to turn it down. And I usually turn it down just slow enough that it's jiggling, but almost not jiggling. My sauce is pulled down. Turn it. And always point where the steam's going to go away from you because you can get a really bad burn if you're not careful. Sometimes you'll have a little water on the lid. Be careful and just kind of tip it, drip it off of there, and set it on a wire rack. And if you ever see food spilt in your canner, you know there's been a problem. There you go. My wonderful Italian sauce is cooked and canned up. Okay, this is the finished product, and we're going to leave it up to my taste tester husband, Alan, to tell us how it turned out.
That's the best you've ever made. Bar none.